nobody must make himself a tool of disunity to destroy the peace lifestyle of Ghanaians because of politics, because the consequence will be too much.
On Newsnight tonight, NDC demands provision of nose mask by Electoral Commission at polling stations on election day, describing as illegal the decision of the EC to turn away voters who go to the polls without masks.
The EC further defended their action in media interviews, saying everyone is enjoined to wear nose masks. This singular act is not only unconstitutional but ridiculous.
We have details as the party today charges its supporters to film events at polling centers, contrary to EC's directive against filming of ballots. Also tonight, election security in the spotlight as former military head cautions against involving soldiers in the polls, warning it is gradually undermining Ghana's democracy.
And there is a risk. The more we allow the military to be involved in election security, the more likely that we undermine our democratic elections.
Meanwhile, Observer Group Codeo calls for stricter security arrangements on election day as government declares Zima serving as public holiday.
And in business, third tranche of cocoa loan syndication hits Bank of Ghana's account. We explore the impact on the Ghana cedi.
On the rules of the game of football. That's according to referees manager of the Ghana Football Association, Alex Corte. Details later in sports.
You want to join us with your views and comments? Who will be on the campaign trail tonight? Former President Mahama defends his party's decision to absorb fees of tertiary students in enhanced policy dubbed Faninyina.
They did the costing and they brought it. The party looked at it. It was approved and it was announced.
It's not an afterthought?
This is not even a new announcement. It's an enhancement of an existing policy.
From the MPP.
This is an ill-conceived campaign promise smuggled through the back door to add up to the litany of failed and uninspiring manifesto.
And this is your election headquarters, and the election headquarters coverage is brought to you by Petrosol Clean Fuel in full quantity, Pad Ever furniture for a modern office, and Cowbell Coffee. Taste it, love it. Well, tonight the opposition NDC is demanding the provision of nose masks by the Electoral Commission for voters who turn up on election day without the face mask. According to the party, it is unconstitutional for the commission to prevent registered voters from accessing polls under the guise of public health implications. Several people we know were turned away during Tuesday's special voting for not wearing a mask. We'll hear shortly from the NDC, which is describing that action as illegal. But first, here is the Director of Electoral Services at the EC, Dr. Siribo Kweku, defending the action.
Those who went to the centers without mask, they should understand that COVID is still available. And you can contract the disease when you step out of your house without putting on the mask. Again, it is also a breach of the law that you step out of your house without being in a mask. We should bear in mind that COVID is not at the polling station only. You can contract them anywhere along the route. So please protect yourself and protect the people you come into contact with by wearing the mask before you step out.
Well, we can now hear from the NDC's Director of Elections, Elvis Ifriankra, who is demanding that the EC provides nose mask on election day to avoid disenfranchising anyone.
We've had this unfortunate issue of disenfranchising persons without nose masks at polling stations. In our view, we think it's unconstitutional. We found it awful that the EC turned away persons without nose masks at polling stations in the special voting. The EC further defended their action in media interviews, saying everyone is enjoined to wear nose masks. This singular act is not only unconstitutional but ridiculous. What is more disturbing is that Parliament approved a budget to the EC to procure nose masks for persons who may show up without them, so that they will not be disenfranchised. It is therefore strange that the EC will turn around to prevent such persons from voting. Sorry, please. They chop them. That will be normal. That's their character. We wish to caution the EC against this practice on December 7th. The EC must make provision for nose masks at polling stations for persons who may not have. We are calling on the electorate who may not have nose masks to improvise by using any piece of cloth or handkerchief to cover their nose. What is a nose mask? When the COVID was at its peak and we advised them, don't do mass registration, they say, oh, you went ahead. That one, it was in your interest. Now that people are going to vote, and you know in some areas they will vote against you, you want to use those.
Well, private legal practitioner Samson Lada Yinini says the EC cannot prevent a legally registered voter from voting, stressing the EC must intensify public education to prevent a recurrence on December 7.
We also know that there are people who are genuinely unable to afford face masks. I was surprised to hear that in the special voting, the class of people involved in the special voting, some of them could not, carry a mask with them. The point, however, is that the EC is entitled to ask you to get the face mask or facial or face covering on before you vote. What the EC cannot do is to prevent you from voting. They cannot prevent you. And you see, the Supreme Court has confirmed the law over and again. Only one individual, the Supreme Court stood up for them, for one individual in Ransford's Prime, and said you cannot take anybody's vote away from them. So if I hear the EC officer in a language that does not, a language that's a bit too, I don't know how to use the expression. It does not encourage people, but seeks to tell them that you take it or leave it. It should be that way. It shouldn't be that way.
And that's something, Lada. I want to hear from you on this. It's fundamentally about you. Should the Electoral Commission or the government provide face masks for those who genuinely cannot afford or do not have any at the polling stations on December 7? Send me a WhatsApp 055-1111-997. Still on the issues surrounding the impending elections 4 days away, a former military head is cautioning against involving soldiers in the polls, warning it is gradually undermining Ghana's democracy. Now, security expert Colonel Festus Abuaje, retired, insists the police should be solely responsible for the exercise. He details this point in his latest book, The Ghana Voter Registration 2020, Dynamics and Risks of Political Contestation in an Emerging Democracy. Promises to be a fascinating book indeed, and it studies the events of the 2020 voter registration exercise and how that could affect the upcoming election. Colonel Abuaje says election security is a crucial aspect of the election that stakeholders must not take for granted.
In democratic elections, there is no role for any military. We saw it during the American elections. We all saw CNN and other international media, and you didn't see any American soldiers, those deployed to Afghanistan, you didn't see them at the ballot stations. You saw federal police, you saw state police. The U.S. has different types of law enforcement agencies. Now, here, we have gradually come to think that the military is part of any security architecture or security arrangement within the country, which is not the case. And there is a risk. The more we allow the military to be involved in election security, the more likely that we undermine our democratic elections. And it's something that I think we need to pay attention.
I want to bring in Colonel Festus Obaji, retired now, who joins us on the telephone line. Thank you, sir, for your time here on Newsnight. We've always used military personnel over the years since we returned to democratic rule, but that has not affected the polls negatively. So what is the basis for this call now?
Well, thanks for having me, Evans. That is precisely the issue. That because we moved or transitioned from a long period of military rule, even at the point where we embarked on democratic rule, in this case since 1992, we seem to think that it was normal practice for the military to be everywhere in situations that are typically law enforcement situations. That is an abnormality. The principle established in a number of international and regional documents, including the ECOWAS Protocol on Good Governance and Democracy, is that election security is not a role for the military. That's the first premise. If the military has to play a role, the military is enjoined to conduct itself in terms of how it organizes its own activities consistent with democratic principles. Respect for human rights.
The fact that
yes, please.
That's the fact that the architecture for policing the poll has the IGP at the top of the Election Security Task Force, with all other agencies, including the supporting military, personnel, taking final instructions from that police head. Doesn't that address that democratic question that you raised?
No, it doesn't. In fact, that is where the mix-up is. I was going to come to that. That when the military has to play a role, and this will be in cases like, the African reality, where institutions are a bit weak and don't have the full capacity to police elections, the military plays a supporting role with clearly defined tasks. The situation that we have in this country, where invariably because of operations like Calm Life and so on, we tend to mix military and police, put them in vehicles, and we say we're doing joint operations. That is not how we teach military assistance to civil power. So the military should stand by. It could be in their barracks. It could be at other vantage points. And when the police determine that there is a situation that is beyond their capacity, indeed in writing, they must say that they cannot deal with the situation and invite the military to come in. Now, if we cast our minds back to Tema East, during the special voting, you saw during that fracas, and I cited this during the launch, where there were military personnel, naval personnel anyway, who were right in the middle of the confusion. That is not what we teach in the armed forces. The military must come in, information, and go through certain procedures to advise, to warn, to whatever, for people to disperse, in the absence of which certain actions will be taken. So the danger that I'm seeing is this new reality or the new normal, that increasingly the military is being involved in frontline law enforcement situations, including elections. And that is a risk that that military role poses to our democratic elections and invariably to our democracy itself.
I mean, we have done this for so long. We actually have Operation Calm Life, where the military is an integral part of fighting crime on our streets. We know they should remain in the barracks, but we've seen them on our streets. And in fact, you know, we have a country where, I mean, sociocultural upbringing and orientation means that we respect the military more than we do the police. And your interest fundamentally is peace. I mean, people will be more inclined to be peaceful when they have a military man on standby than when they have a police officer. I mean, it doesn't the end justifies the means.
No, this is not the case here. In fact, strictly in the context of democracy, we need now to move to the actual normality. The actual normality is that the police must begin to assert themselves, to command the respect and the confidence of the society, rather than perpetuating this paradigm that the society doesn't respect the police, they don't have confidence in them, and therefore, by default, let us use the military. I'm trying to suggest that constitutionally, the military is not supposed to undertake a number of operations that they have been undertaking. And if indeed they have to undertake it, the manner in which, that is the concept by which they carry out those operations, are not consistent with the teachings in our military schools. So even if the military must go on patrol, what I'm saying is that to take 3 military personnel and ask 3 military police personnel and put them in one vehicle and say they're going on joint patrols. Look, when they come under fire, the way the military will respond to that fire will be different from the way the police will react. Because maybe we haven't encountered that situation, we think that it is normal. It's not normal. So we need now to hold the military. Let's say where we have checkpoints. You could have the military, standing by and allowing the police to man the actual checkpoint. I see everything wrong, inappropriate, in the sense that you have one police, one military, and say they are conducting joint operations. It's not consistent with military doctrine.
I mean, we're talking about security for the polls. You've just launched a book that studies the events of the 2020 voter registration exercise and how that could affect the upcoming elections. The book titled The Ghana Voter Registration 2020, Dynamics and Risk of Political Contestation in an Emerging Democracy. Briefly, how does that recent history affect or impact on December 7 in 4 days?
Well, it wouldn't impact it. But let's remember that the context for this book is the voter registration. So I have cited or documented a number of incidents during the voter registration which were not consistent with democratic elections. And I have expressed the caution that if those trends continue, for instance, establishment of roadblocks in areas where the electorate is going to vote, in this case, we're going to register. It's not the military which must establish roadblocks to check identities of who is eligible to vote or not to vote. But in this book, I've also said that yes, the state has legitimate grounds to protect or secure the country. But the state must be careful that those parallel military operations for purely national security purposes do not adversely impact democratic elections. My sense is that during the voter registration, those types of military operations, which were legitimate, interfered with the voter registration. And that is the danger if indeed it continues to 7 December.
Okay.
But let's hope that the special voting will be the best example that we have. But come 7 December, will all, go to the ballot station without any form of intimidation from any sort or any person. Cast our votes and go home.
I mean, and this book, for those who may want to grab a copy, where do they find it briefly?
Well, for now, Kingdom Books will have copies at some of its bookshops, definitely including Legon Bookshop. I've just spoken with the management of Airport Shell. From tomorrow morning, copies would be available there. So at least for now. And as the publisher said, the books will also be available online on Amazon.
Okay.
For those who want to buy online to do that.
Colonel, thank you very much. Colonel Festus Obajo, the security analyst, of course, on this all-important matter of election security. Talking about that, on this matter of security, the Coalition of Domestic Election Observers, CODEO, is raising concerns about the declaration of December 7 as a public holiday. Speaking at an event to launch its National Information Center, which is expected to receive and process data in real time from over 4,000 election observers to be deployed on Election Day. Acting chair of CODEO, Sheikh Arimaya Shaibu, said the police must tighten security to prevent any clashes by party fanatics.
Election Day has been declared as holidays. I think that we want to advise the security agencies to be more on the alert, because what it means is that almost everybody is at home, and polling stations may be crowded, and over-enthusiastic party loyalists may engage in some activity, and so this should trigger some strategic approach to the election security monitoring and how they execute their work. It helps people to stay at their work post. The polling station may not be too congested, and people may not have time to come and stay there again, except those who are not working. But majority of those who are working will have to go back to their workplaces and so on. So that reduces the number that accumulates around the place. But now that is a holiday, what it means is that almost everybody will be free, and we anticipate that crowding around could be misused by some people. And
meanwhile, the Electoral Commission says CODEO's National Information Center will deepen transparency in the process. Dr. Siribo Kweku is Director of Electoral Services.
So we believe that CODEO taking this step of helping to throw light on our activities will be good, so that whatever we are doing, we can look back and say somebody is watching us. We know we are going to recruit approximately 240,000 temporary staff for this exercise. We are operating 38,622 polling stations. So we know that it will not be easy for any observer to cover all the centers. But it is our request that the observers will not be concentrating in the urban areas. They should spread themselves to cover as many centers as they can, because their presence also adds to the fairness and the freeness of an election.
But Chairman of Parliament's Defence and Interior Committee, Seth Champon, says the security agencies have been briefed to deal with any situation on Election Day.
I think that a couple of weeks back, the Inspector General of Police, who happens to chair the National Elections Task Force, made a statement to the whole nation of their preparedness and the people he is putting together. So for the first time in our history since this fourth Republican dispensation kicked in, this is the highest number we've experienced. And I believe, by every stretch of it, that it's going to be peaceful. Based on what I have been told, I've had occasion to sit in a security dialogue meeting where the entire architecture of deployment has been offered us.
Of course, still listening to Newsnight. It's on Joy 99.7 FM. Your comments shortly, 055 997. Still, this is your election headquarters, and I want to take you to the Ashanti region right now, where there is some disagreement over the siting of a collation center for one of those hotly contested areas, a major flashpoint, the Sawasi constituency. The Electoral Commission there says it is unwilling to change the choice of that collation center despite objections by the National Democratic Congress. Director of the Commission, Benjamin Banobio, says the Asokore Mamponkene's Palace remains the best fit for the process. Love FM's Nana Yaojima has more.
The incumbent member of parliament for Asawaso constituency has objected to the use of the Asokore Mampong Palace as a collation center for December 7 polls. For him, the area is unsuitable because of heavy vehicular traffic in the evening and the bushy environment.
One, the place is obscured. It's at the outskirts of the city. It is surrounded by bush that could easily be used as hideouts. There are a lot of uncompleted houses there that could also be used as hideouts. Also, everybody in this constituency knows in the morning the traffic is from Asokore Mampong towards town, and in the evening the traffic is from town towards Asokore Mampong.
Love News visit to the area indicates the street lights are well lit with installed security cameras. A woody space opposite the palace is being developed by the local assembly. Ashanti Regional Director of the Electoral Commission, Benjamin Banobio, says the choice was carefully made, taking all necessary security and safety protocols into consideration.
Convenience is a place that you have selected. Convenient to be used as a collation center. Is it accessible that people can go there? Is it spacious? You know, we are not in normal times. Is it spacious enough to ensure social distancing? These are some of the things we consider.
Well, meanwhile, Ashanti Regional Director of the Commission, Benjamin Banobio, says they have a working strategy to ensure timely delivery of election results at the Commission as a Commission targets early declaration of the results. And on that what has become a controversial subject about the early declaration of results, I want to take you live now to my colleague Parker Wilson, who is at the meeting where the Electoral Commission has been detailing the mechanisms that they're putting in place to ensure that they are in a position to declare the final results within 24 hours of the polls. My colleague Parker Wilson is there for us. Parker, what are the details? What is it that the EC says they have in place that they believe will make this possible?
Well, so Dr. Bosman has sought out a few things to us this evening. According to him, each polling station would have 6 EC officials. And then again, in order to reduce the pressure at various polling stations, a polling station would cater for not more than 750 registered voters. And then the minimum would actually be around 60 registered voters. So these are some of the issues. And then he also indicated that the riverine areas that the Commission has made available boats or canoes, and also the hard-to-reach areas where the roads are bad, they've made some pickups available so that they can easily convey the result from those polling areas to the collation center, that's the regional collation center, on the election day. So according to him, with these kind of measures being put in place, they are confident that they'll be able to declare the result 24 hours after close of poll. But Evans, it is note that he also indicated that it is not cast in stone. Well, they have put the measures in place. They are hoping that things go as they are planned. But of course, there could be a few issues. But when the results come within the 24 hours, definitely they are going to declare.
He's also, understand, Dr. Boxman, been responding to former President Mahama.
Well, that's correct. Yesterday, the interview MFA Power had with the former president and the flag bearer of the NDC, Mr. Mahama, noted that the EC officials, the Electoral Commission at the national headquarters, were going to rely on its officials at the polling station to send them the results. But the EC deputy chair has been explaining that what they seek to do is to only get results from the regional collation center. So at every region, they have a returning officer, and it is those officers who fax the result to them right from the regional collation center. And they are expecting that the NDC and the other political parties will also deploy men who understand the process, so that at the end of the day, when the results come in at the regional level, they'll be able to sign the pink sheet. It will be faxed to the national headquarters, and the Electoral Commission chairperson can declare the result.
Parker, thank you very much for that. We'll watch that space very closely. This is your election headquarters, and of course, when We return from business. We are hitting the campaign trail where former President Mahama is defending his party's decision to absorb fees of tertiary students in enhanced policy dubbed Faninina as he comes against criticism from the governing MPP, described it as a sham. We'll hear from the MPP, which is calling on Ghanaians to discredit new promise by their opponents. Stay with us for that and more. After George ends business. George, what do you have in the headlines?
Event coming up in business. The third tranche of cocoa loan syndication funds to hit Bank of Ghana's account. That has already hit Bank of Ghana's account. We're getting you more details about the implications of this for the Ghana city and demand for labor in terms of advertised job yet to pick up from pre-pandemic levels. The business news on Newsnight is brought to you by MTN Business. Welcome to the new world of business. Kingdom Books and Stationery, your number one-stop shop for all your office essentials. And First National Bank, we are the bank that understands your business. First National Bank, how can we help you?
1, 2, 3, 4.
Oh, don't worry, Grandpa. There are still 5 ripe and 15 unripe mangoes on the tree.
That's my boy.
Grandpa, it's still 1.2 kilograms of rice in the container.
My boy. And how much credit did I spend last week?
Well, you spent 5 CDs on calls, 2 megabytes on data, and you sent 5 SMSs.
We are the first network that tells you exactly what you have spent and when you spent it. Dial *156# to access your statement on MTN. We are good together. We day for you everywhere you go.
Son, we are so proud of you for setting up this hospital. I really love those hospital beds and waiting chairs. By the way, did you import them?
No, Dad, I didn't. I actually got them from Kingdom Books and Stationery right here in Ghana.
Wow. We also bought our office supplies, safes, executive desks and chairs from Kingdom, and they gave us expert advice on how to set up our office.
Guys, that makes 3 of us. I also got our sofa and bedroom sets, plus our dining hall furniture for our new home from Kingdom.
Wow, Mom, that makes 4 of us. I usually get my stationery items from Kingdom, and my teacher also mentioned that our classroom furniture was provided by Kingdom.
So there you have it. Whenever you're thinking about setting up an office or acquiring furniture for your home, etc., Kingdom Books and Stationery should be your first point of call. With over 40 years experience in the industry, we stock and supply a wide variety of globally sourced office and home furniture, stationery and equipment. Visit our head office, Osu Akwaje, or our office near the Osu Stadium. We're also in Tema Community 1, opposite Olam SHS, Kumasi KNUST campus, UCC Cape Coast, and now at the Marina Mall, Airport City. Or call us 0302 764101, 764209, or 762792. Visit our website www.kingdomgh.com.
Hey, Grandpa, media say Pablo.
Yeah, what is Semne Nam? Catch them here.
John Mahama says so. Can you go hospital? Yeah, you're free.
Hey, I send the penny, Baba. Boom.
Sanchez, your DB. Can you go to district hospital, clinical, polyclinical, in Krasi Hospital, it's a portocas in Ubroni friend of Chase compound. So when you malaria, diabetes, ulcer, hypertension, just beer, Grandpa, and you just simply say, so what NHS, and I will need Grandpa, a better free.
Sir,
Missing you here, near Chess, the dear Chess, so you're gonna see. No.
Baby, Ubicha health insurance, Moana.
Oh, Debbie, Grandpa, on train free hospital. Beboa NHS. I'm an edimu.
Hey, sir.
I'm Grandpa. I'm sick as you park home. Or see, Obe Chafford so. At the Abua, almost Yari Womu Sabo. And now, who crying, no more say, Musicanina de Payarisa.
Oh, Yami Shrajo Mahama.
Juma Mahama, ni NDC. Ama a Juma ni in Koswa Abba, Ama Yenina.
Ago Mambapa,
It's time again to further consolidate Ghana's democratic gains. Eligible voters on 7 December 2020 will vote to elect who should govern our beloved country by showing up at polling centers to participate in this democratic exercise. Remember to vote on issues and reject candidates who incite violence. As a good citizen, refrain from political violence and electoral malpractices. Go along with your voter's ID card to the polling station. Cast your vote peacefully, cooperating with all lawful agencies. Exercise your right to vote safely. Adhere to all COVID-19 safety protocols at polling stations. Get involved, pay attention, stay engaged, and let your vote count. It's your civic responsibility. A message from the National Commission for Civic Education, NCCE.
This December, don't just think about the political party you belong to. Choose a leader who has what it takes and the team to manage and build a strong economy.
Think about the millions who are enjoying free SHS thanks to a strong economy.
Think about the millions of jobs being created and protected because competent hands are managing the economy for you.
Think about the roads, dams, and health centers being constructed thanks to a strong economy.
Remember those who gave you doomsday and handed the economy to the IMF.
Think about a leader who has liberated us after 5 years of doomsday.
Remember, your vote is about your future, our future. Vote for the leader who can manage the economy much better and create more jobs for you. Vote Nana Akufo-Addo, number 1, and the MPP parliamentary candidate in your area.
You're welcome back to Business on Newsnight. Now, the third tranche of the cocoa loan syndicated cash has hit the Bank of Ghana's account. Joy Business understands that about $260 million came in today. But how will this impact on the cocoa industry and the Ghana city stability? We have details in the following Business Desk report.
Joy Business understands that the $260 million hit the Bank of Ghana's accounts earlier today. This should bring the total amount that has come in so far to about $800 million. Sources say the final tranche should come by January next year. This should mean that $440 million is now expected to come, bringing the total to $1.3 billion. Using the cedi rate of 5 cedis 73 pesos, we're expecting about 7.4 billion cedis hitting the central bank's account. Cocoa Board in September this year managed to raise the funds from some selected banks in Ghana and outside the country. This is expected to go a long way to help with the purchases of cocoa beans. Cocoa Board is also looking at using some of the funds to control cocoa diseases, rehabilitate roads, and other industry inputs. However, the immediate impact of this move will be some marginal improvement in the Bank of Ghana's international reserves, a development that could go a long way to help in the stability of the Ghana cedi, which has come under some slight pressure over the past week. This will send some signals to investors that the central bank is in a strong position to defend the local currency when the need arises. According to the Bank of Ghana's Economic Financial Data Report, the country's international reserve stands at $8.6 billion. The Bank of Ghana has indicated that it is looking at hitting about $10 billion by close of this year. This is to help build a strong reserve for the first quarter of 2021, which has been described by some as the pressure season.
And that was the Business Desk report. Meanwhile, Cocoa Board has told Joy Business that these funds coming as scheduled will go a long way to aid the purchases of cocoa beans and the payment of farmers on time. Dr. Emmanuel Opoku is the Deputy Director at Cocoa Board in charge of operations.
Farmers, as soon as they sell their cocoa, they need their money. So availability of the fund would enable us to pay all farmers who deliver their cocoa to the buyers at the society level.
I believe that also it would help in achieving your targets, one would ask.
Yes, because, right now, the way we've structured our pricing system and that of Cote d'Ivoire, there's not much for anyone to smuggle cocoa. But hitherto, without funds, people will begin to take the advantage and sell cocoa to neighboring countries. So we need to make sure that, one, that we have funds to pay the farmers, because everybody wants to get paid for the service they provide, or just like you and I, at the end of the month, want to be paid. So
Deputy Director in charge of operations at Cocoa Board, Dr. Imonolopoku. And the demand for labor by businesses in the country are yet to pick up from the pre-COVID-19 levels. Latest data from the Bank of Ghana shows that in terms of advertised jobs in the dailies and online, they are still below what the country recorded before March this year. Whilst the numbers was around 3,500 earlier this year, it dropped to about 2,500, that is around this time. The development may show that a lot more businesses are yet to fully recover from the shocks of the pandemic, despite data from the Bank of Ghana which suggests that the economy is actually picking up. Now, telecoms giant MTN has now showed its approval to go ahead and take some measures to safeguard the interests of its business and shares. This was after he got shareholders' approval at the virtual AGM today to buy a little over 1 million shares and implement an employee share ownership scheme. Corporate Services Executive at MTN Ghana, Sam Quarantine, tells Joy Business they will now be looking forward to deal with the current shareholders who want to take a bite of these new shares.
What it is that discussions are still ongoing. The existing shareholders would continue to own their shares. There are various discussions ongoing to arrive at decisions as how we offload the remainder of the 12.5% once we have completed the employee share scheme. So once those discussions and approvals are obtained, we are in discussions with a variety of stakeholders. We will come out and announce what happens and how we intend to offload the balance.
Corporate Services Executive at MTN Ghana, Sam Quarantine. Now, Puma Energy is targeting to opening 40 new service stations, that is, by next year. Now, this is part of a strategy to become a household name in the industry. Managing Director Henry said disclosed this at the oil marketing company's customer service celebration in Accra today.
We are going to grow our network extensively over the next year. Like my retail manager intimated earlier, we are looking to add 40 new stations onto our network. We're also looking, as part of this campaign, to attract people who have stations and are currently struggling with their sponsored OMCs to come forward and enjoy the Puma experience.
And that's the managing director of Puma Energy, that is Henry Osei. And that's all for business on Newsnight, Evans.
And you want to join us on PM Express, the business edition tonight. And of course, it's 4 days to go. And so we are giving you the election business spice to PM Express, election 2020. Funding, manifesto promises, and the business expectations. You know, one of the things that I'm looking at, we have some very important people on the panel tonight. Talk to us about it.
Looking at Dr. Lord Mensah, he is a financial economist at the University of Ghana, Legon. We also have Dr. David Ofosudote. He is a business strategist and also a partner at ABN David, and also Nana Osebunsu. He is the president of the Private Enterprise Federation, and Dr. Yao Edujemfi, president of the Association of Ghana Industry. So, getting something from the business community event.
This is what I'm really looking forward to hearing. You know, if you look at both NDC and MPP, they have huge line items. For the MPP, even more so, they have a 10 billion CD Ghana Cares plan, right, for 2021 to 2020 to 2023, 3 years. And they are expecting the private sector will fund 70 million of that amount. It'll be curious to know what the private businesses think of this. I mean, are they willing to put money into this? How will the structure be? And for me, that's a key thing. The NDC is talking about the big push. Okay, where they're going to do a lot of infrastructure with $10 billion worth of it, hoping to borrow, etc. Normally, they will borrow both internationally and borrow locally as well in the local markets. Will business investors be willing to? Take up that sort of...
And even in these COVID times as well, where funds are very difficult to come back, how are these parties going to fund these promises come next year, depending on whoever wins come December 7th?
Yeah, and for me, those are key things. You don't want to miss it. It's from 9 to 10 p.m. tonight on the Joy News channel. And a few of your messages coming through on our WhatsApp console. AU Farouk says, no amount of intimidation can stop the good people of this country voting out this... corrupt family and friends MPP. #Newsnight. Good evening, Mr. Mensah. The MPs want to tell all public servants that they are special or what? They are always selfish in nature. No wonder using the military in the polls will go a long way to jeopardize the country's democracy. And Noah sent us that one. Kenneth says from Legon says, I think it's a deliberate move by the EC to well, that's an allegation that you cannot substantiate. This one says no face mask, no masks, no vote. Legal experts like to massage than to say it as it is. The COVID-19 protocol guiding us states clearly that you wear it before leaving home, and let's respect that and move on. Idi in Medina sent that one. Nusike says the plenty money EC collected from the candidates, they cannot provide face mask. Dominic, once I have registered, why should I be disenfranchised for not wearing nose mask? Nah, on the Spinkters Road says, honestly, nose mask should not be an issue to prevent people from voting. Those who can't afford can simply tie a shirt, handkerchief, or any cloth around their faces. The main point is that they've covered up. Well, interesting contribution there. Peaceful elections, hashtag Zoto Wisdom says, Ghana is not developing because our parliamentarians and politicians are greedy and selfish. How can you expect over 230,000 as pension benefit after you receive huge ex gratia and fat salary, while an ordinary worker goes home with coins? North K, BB North K says, Mr. Passera wants to go on retirement on his salary for working for just 4 years. Really? He can't compare the 4 years tenure with the over 30 years judges work for. And the final one, and Hans Minsando is just burning.
I like Mr. Passera.
Burning to have a word on this. Yes. Tell me, why do you like him?
Who doesn't want to retire?
On his salary. Yeah.
You want to retire, don't you?
On my salary?
Yeah.
Don't
you want to?
I want to work 5 more years. Hopefully by that time they would have increased my salary. So that time when you
retire
on that one. Yeah. Yes. By the way, Hans Mensah is here with sports. Hans, what's in the news?
Ole Gunnar Solskjaer.
Goodness me, have we sacked him yet?
No.
Okay.
He's made a few admissions. But first, referees manager of the Ghana Football Association, Alex Cortes, says stakeholders need proper education on the rules of the game. According to him, coaches have been hauled before the disciplinary committee of the Ghana Football Association because of a lack of understanding of the rules of football.
For the referees, we have told them to be fair in their judgment, to ensure that whatever decisions they are taking is backed by the laws of the game. There is this new concept that FIFA has introduced, that is football understanding. We took them through that. Because you see, in every decision that you make on the field of play, you must ask yourself, what will football accept? You understand? So football understanding is very crucial now. For the media, I think that we still have a lot of work to do. The education aspect in terms of the media hasn't gone down that very well.
Moving on, Manchester United head coach Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has admitted he should have substituted Fred before the Brazilian was sent off in their 3-1 Champions League defeat by Paris Saint-Germain last night. The midfielder was shown a second yellow card in the 70th minute for a foul on Ander Herrera, having been booked in the first half for a head-to-head clash with Leandro Paredes. The defeat to PSG now leaves United level with PSG and RB Leipzig on 9 points in Group H, and a draw away to German side next Tuesday will be enough to see the Reds reach the last 16. Evans, will your Manchester United be able to make it through to the round of 16?
It's 50-50. It shouldn't be. We beat PSG comfortably, Leipzig. Those teams we were expected to lose. And the point about
they're actually showing the game on the screen.
Yeah, I mean, the point about it is Ole has that he's a so-so coach, right? He can win some, lose some. When you're about to sack him, he'll win you some game that he's expected to lose, and then they keep him there. I think we're becoming gradually like Arsenal. The mediocrity.
I was actually about to ask you, between you and Anio Sabute, who suffers more?
Oh, Anio Sabute is grieving. Is a tragedy for him. But Hans, thank you very much. This is your election quarters. And this is your election headquarters. Election headquarters coverage is brought to you by Petrosol Clean Fuel in full quantity, Pad Ever Furniture for a modding office, and Cowbell Coffee. Taste it, love it. And let's catch a campaign trail now, and we join in the campaign of the incumbent president. Akufo-Addo is making a final push for votes in the party's Eastern Regional stronghold, and that is his home region as well. Now, the region has the third highest electoral votes, with over 1.6 million people on the roll in what the president describes as a final wrap. He told the cheering crowd at Kokuku in the Achimota constituency the elections are about the future of the country.
My probably and I said me dear mo or Eastern region. Jenna me wa Shasia or Achimoda. Na Quenbia sono. I did me here free one ye. Me address on the Upper West Action District. Constituency for me program more ye. But you for Canada, my Muslim boss of you. A free 1992 I shall say. Yeah, to a bar. Can I keep your memo? Upper West Action. Mombatra so no soda. Tambia, Mushatin Yana say. Nothing yano, I feel. Tokro Munkwa and Ababe set in Yenu. Tokwan, Ababe set in Yenu. And to me, him, to me, Majesty, dear, what is the name? You know me, some of the buy. Safi, Ebrenaso, to Upper West, Achem constituency. Mombrana Mombetra, or so no so, Namofa, or so no, and Tiaso, and Yedma. Afina, Magana, the Edmacasias, and Mensa. Namasamanso, I made it 2 jar. Brenaba, Edu, says Mana Modesha, and Sami Banan de Buhun Conta. Name be dear, who are dance here. Auntie. I said, I'm going to do and they say, as you man would say, Miss Sano, Mosha, Metumia, Metumia, you man, I'm what the man is saying, yellow. Metumia, my so many, and so many. Now, so many, but this idea tossing you know. And they said, Mamma, crying, Namin twice, and I'm 4 more for the Nano, and they had.
Let's join that train. Our embedded correspondent is Elton Brobe. Elton?
So Evans, he's talking about the fact that he couldn't conclude the legendary campaign without visiting his home region of the Eastern region. More importantly, he said the Upper West Akim, a seat held by the NDC since 1992, and says it's about time that they change their voting pattern and vote for the MCP. He said the umbrella has developed votes and able to now manage and control and protect the people. So the people of West Akim, Upper West Akim, should now change their voting pattern and vote for the MPP. He says that he is accounting to the people. And if the people are satisfied with what he's done so far, then 4 more years will be all that will be needed to help him transform the nation. Evans, he also touched on the free senior high school politics. He says that when he started the project, his main political opponents, the NDC, had doubts about the feasibility of its implementation. But 2 years on and the program is running, the NDC wants to take advantage and claim credit for it. He said that if they have any morals in them at all, they should own up and say that they were wrong in their criticism and apologize accordingly. As I speak, we are on our way to Akropong to conclude the one-day tour of the Eastern region.
Well, Elton, thank you very much. Now, former President Mahama has been defending his party's decision to absorb fees of tertiary students in its enhanced policy dubbed FANINA. He's been speaking to my colleague, MFAPAO.
The fees that the first years have to pay are quite bigger than what the continuing students pay. And so if you do the Chimpe policy, they are not likely to benefit as much as the continuing students. And so we should do something more, significant for them. And they did the costing and they brought it. The party looked at it, and the chairman called me and said, based on the recommendation of the education committee, they decided that for first years they would cover the full fees so that they can cushion them for the first year. And then for continuing students, they will do the Chimpe policy. And so it was approved and it was announced.
It's not an afterthought?
Oh, well, as we go on, we continue to announce, more initiatives, because you come across some things that were not captured completely, and you just enhance. This is not even a new announcement, it's an enhancement of an existing policy.
And that is the NDC flag bearer, John Dramani Mahama. So listening to Newsnight is on Joy 99.7 FM, and Justice Badegbe was appointed to the Supreme Court in 2009 by President John Evans Mensah. Prior to this, he had served as Justice of the High Court in Koforidua and in Ho. Today, he delivered his final judgment in the matter between the 43 MPs seeking payment as pensions, which the Supreme Court unanimously dismissed. He spoke to my colleague, Kweku Asante, after Supreme Court today, after a short ceremony was organized to send him off.
My biggest achievement, I have helped to develop and clarify the law on many occasions. That's part of our business. And also giving effect to various provisions of the Constitution that others think never existed.
When you look back 31 years, 4 months, are there some judgments that you will take back?
Oh, what do you mean by take back?
Maybe you've
along to my house.
No, you've gone back to the judgment and you think maybe you could have decided it in another way.
But human beings, whatever you do now, if you want to do it again, you do it better or differently. There are various ways of thinking over a matter. So it is only that which informed you at the particular time that you should worry about. And happily for us as judges, we have, unlike many other professions, the opportunity for correction. I will tell you, it's something I've never said, but as a lawyer, I was invited on 2 previous occasions. I refused to send my CV. On the 3rd occasion, I was by the TV with one of my sons, the lawyer, when I heard my name being announced on the TV as having been appointed in September 1989 to the High Court. So I was actually, I didn't, at that time it was an invitation, but even the invitation, I was not much involved. So my name actually, Sule is my middle name, but that for a long time has been the name that everybody knew, because I was appointed without getting sufficient information about me. They know me as Sule is Sulemana, and they don't know Nasiru, so I have all been known as Sule Badegbe for a very long time.
Well, the Deputy Attorney General, Godfrey Yeboadami, says a retiring judge, Justice Sulemana, will be remembered as a master of civil procedure, and the country will be worse off for his retirement. I agree entirely. And that's it for Newsnight tonight. Our top story this hour: the National Democratic Congress is demanding the provision of face mask by the Electoral Commission at polling centers on Election Day. Enjoy the rest of your evening.